I would say if you look at just the paperwork, I would say it's got to be the Swiss franc. And the reason for that is that you've got the current account surplus, you've got a really good budget deficit position or surplus position or pretty well balanced. And you've also got all those other things, like you have a good government or system of government, a good legal system, all of those other things that people want. And you have liquidity. Now you could say, what about Sweden? What about some of these other smaller European countries? They do not have liquidity, and some funds are barred from actually getting too involved.
Sorry, Gary.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, but do you think that now is the time to go and like hide your head under a pillow and run for the hills and buy the safe havens, or is the time
How do you run for the hills when your head's under a pillow?
You run for the hills with your pillow over your head like that.
Okay, just check that one.
Thank you, Steve, for clarifying
Just
that.
a mixed metaphor. I do them all the time.
It was actually, wasn't it? I'm the queen of mixed metaphors. But Jane, or is it the time to buy the risky assets that are getting sold off? Finally, we've got the dip we've been waiting for.
See, this is the thing, because of course if you look at world growth this year is really quite good, and there's been some upside surprises, particularly from the Eurozone and from Japan as well. And of course if you look at risky assets, stock markets, emerging market assets, they've done pretty well, generally speaking, this year because of the better tone in risk appetite. And quite interestingly, if we go back a couple of weeks ago, there was a big position adjustment in the Swiss franc because of this, because of the rotation back into the euro. People finally were dragged out of the safe haven Swiss franc back into the euro. And perhaps that's why the Swiss performed very well yesterday, because positions were less long than they've been for a long time.
In terms of the initial point I made against the Swissy versus the dollar, if you have got two relative safe havens, how do you trade that pair in times of caution?
Well, I would always say that the dollar really has a sort of a flirtatious relationship with safe haven. It's not a proper safe haven, but of course the US Treasuries are, and that can flows into the US Treasuries, can sometimes of course underpin the dollar, but generally speaking then, as yields go down in the US, then that detracts from the dollar. So it has a very flirtatious relationship. I would say really it's the yen and the Swiss franc that are really the two proper safe havens.